It's been a long week, right? Are you ready to wind down? Why not? It's time for the Wine Time Fridays podcast with Shelley and Phil. Neither are sommeliers, but both have a deep passion for life, each other, and of course, delicious wine. And now, here to talk about this week over a glass of wine is Shelley and Phil. It's wine time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Wine Time Fridays with Shelley and Phil. On this Friday, Shelley, June 16th, my sister's birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday, Treese.
I was going to say me.
Episode 165. No, she's in December. Episode 165. Happy Friday, Shelley. It's wine time.
Happy Friday. Ta-da! Here's our little bell.
Oh, Shelley, there's so many surprises in this episode.
Well,
You have no idea.
So I knew it was here somewhere.
Oh, got it. Okay, perfect. But there may be more.
Oh,
Shelley, at the beginning of this year, you said we need more guests.
I did.
And we kind of have had a bit of a drought. We haven't had a guest on since March 31st.
Is that really true?
Yeah, it was Lee Cole, number 41, we had on the last guest. And we've been flying around, moving parts, lots of variables, all of that stuff. But your time has come, Shelley. We've got guests the rest of this month, all Idaho wineries, starting with today's guest, Janet and CJ from Famici Wine Company. Welcome to Wine Time Fridays, and thank you for being here.
Yes, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
We don't want to waste any more time with conversation without wine in the glass. So I don't know how far you guys are.
We are prepared.
And I'm guessing you're going to want to start with the Rosé of Graciano.
Mm-hmm. We are.
Yes, we are.
You see, mine just, yeah, I'm not even going to go there.
That's okay. You know what? Your wines have won a lot of awards. I don't even think I put a whole lot of info down on that because virtually every conversation I have with Janet, whether it's text or over the phone, she says, and we're just going to talk about award-winning wines. And I'm guessing that it's going to be your award-winning wines. Tell us about this 2021 Rosé of Graciano.
Yeah, it's a wine that will always hold a special place in our hearts, I think, because it was the first wine that we made that ever won a gold medal.
Nice.
And so, yeah,
One gold medal and a silver.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So Graciano is one of those grapes that most people haven't had a chance to try before. It's a relatively unusual grape. It's a Spanish varietal that comes from Rioja, the same area where Tempranillo is from.
Nice.
And so we planted it here in our vineyard because Tempranillos are doing really well here in Idaho. And we thought that, well, maybe what we would do is make a Rioja style blend with some Graciano and get some Tempranillo from one of our friends nearby. Then we started working with it in the winery, and it has such beautiful characteristics on its own as a varietal wine that we've first made this rosé out of it, and we also make a red varietal wine out of it too. And so Graciano is a very interesting wine. One of its characteristics is this really beautiful color that comes seeping out of it. That's actually what they use it for in Rioja, blending with the Tempranillo, is to kind of bring some color and some acid into the blend. And so when you first put the grapes through the destemmer, this color starts to pour out into the juice. And so this rosé actually only had contact with the skins for about 20 minutes. And
Wow.
much
20
color.
minutes and look at that color.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
just beautiful color. And so we thought, wow, this wine really wants to be a rosé. So we ended up making a batch of it into rosé. And we've really enjoyed it. It's been a real fan favorite here at Famici.
And how long have you been making this one?
This was the first vintage, 2021.
Nice.
2021. Okay.
I have a question and a statement.
Mhm.
I'm going to start with the statement. To health, wealth, and abundance, gratitude, romance, and
Peace on earth. And thank you for joining us.
thank you for joining us.
Cheers. Mm. Mhm.
Mm.
Okay,
Mhm.
I have a few more questions.
Okay,
100% Graciano.
100% Graciano. Yes.
Delicious.
This thing has got fantastic mouthfeel.
Mm.
Kind of coats the back of my tongue
Mhm.
on the sides. It's actually still giving.
It's got a long finish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But this reminds me of a pin cherry jelly, which you probably don't know, but
Mhm.
it's from Saskatchewan. These little tiny pin cherries that are tart, but then when you make them into jelly, they taste
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So-
In the tasting room, I hear a lot of people use red fruit descriptors like cherry. A lot of people talk about strawberry aromas sometimes too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get that too.
That's
But I get that pin cherry.
the other question I have is what is the residual sugar on this? It seems like it's like 0.5% or less.
It's dry. Yeah, the perceived sweetness is really just coming from that really fruity character of it.
Right.
But it's bone dry. Yeah, it's also been through malolactic fermentation, which is sometimes unusual for a rosé, and we did that for a couple of reasons. One is that your comment about the mouthfeel made me really smile, because one of the things that I'd like to pursue as a winemaker is trying to build structure and mouthfeel in wines, and malolactic fermentation is one way to do that, along with yeast choice, of course. And so the recipe, if you will, for making this rosé included winemaker decisions that were meant to enhance the fruitiness and also to give it that sort of mouthfeel and that weight and viscosity that you were describing. So I'm glad to hear that it actually worked and that it showed up in the glass for you.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah. We talk about your yeast. Are you using yeast that you collect yourself, or are you using yeast purchased?
These are commercial yeasts. Yeah. Maybe someday I'll be brave enough to try a wild yeast fermentation, but I think most winemakers are looking for some pretty specific characteristics in the wines that they're trying to construct. And so most of the time using non-wild fermentations gives you that sort of luxury of that choice. You can pick a strain that tends to enhance particular characteristics that we're looking for in the wine.
So go ahead.
So we kind of jumped right into the wine.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your winery and your background, why you got into this? And
well, I'm gonna need a little bit more of this.
Yeah, that's better stock up. I guess it could be long short. This is one of those stories that could take us hours if we really wanted to explore all of the details. But for me, it started a couple of decades ago. Really as an outgrowth of a class that I was teaching in Italy. So I had the good fortune to teach a class for 15 or more years each summer in part of Italy with a good friend of mine as part of an undergraduate geology program. And so going to Italy, of course, was the place where I really learned to enjoy wine and its place in culture and its pairing with food and so forth. And so when I got back to the States and started looking around here in Idaho, I found out that we have a pretty nice little wine region here in Idaho. And so I began to be curious about that and ended up taking some classes at the community college. And one thing led to another. And we found this particular property and purchased it in 2012 and started to plant a very small vineyard maybe in about 2014. And then just with friends and family would plant some vineyard, and every year we'd have a harvest party and make a little wine and plant a little more vineyard and make a little more wine, and plant a little more vineyard and make a little more wine. And pretty soon it got to the point where we thought we'd better get a license or the federal government might start to get mad.
Uh-oh.
That's probably not a bad model or strategy at some point. So that's good. Are either or both of you Italian at all?
No,
It's in our heart.
yeah,
Okay.
I have an Italian soul, but my body is Viking.
Vikings.
Vikings.
Go Seahawks. So did I say that out loud?
Mhm.
Okay.
Go see them. We love them too.
Well,
There-
that history and connection, and Janet and I both just really fell in love with this part of Italy that I spent so much time in Sardinia. And so we've traveled there a number of times. And it's really inspired the grapes that we grow and the wines that we make here. So some of the wines that that we have. One of our signature wines that maybe we'll get a chance to try together sometime is Vermentino. It's really well known in Italy and not so well known in the U.S. But it's a white wine varietal that I really love that does so well in Sardinia. Vermentino di Gallura and northern Sardinia is a well-known wine in that part of the world. So we grow and have just started to produce Vermentino here. And we also have Primitivo, a more well-known Italian red grape.
Which we'll try tonight.
Yeah, that's on our list, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
It is on our list, yeah.
So we have 7 varietals on our property, and CJ mentioned the Vermentino, the Primitivo. We also grow a Graciano, a Petit Verdot, some Merlot, a Malbec, and of course Cabernet. So a lot of Italian style in there, stylistic. We still have about 4 more blocks to plant, and we
Nice.
are still over what's going to go in those blocks. So they're still up for grabs.
Who's winning so far?
Oh, I'd say Janet usually wins.
So are you considering something like maybe Carmenere?
I do love Carmenere. I love the really fine tannin structure of a nice Carmenere. And it does grow well here. There are a couple of wineries that produce Carmenere here. So that it's in the running for sure.
Tempranillo. Excuse me, what?
Maybe it's Sangiovese.
Oh yes, yeah, that's in the running for
Yeah,
sure.
that's one of Janet's favorites.
Sanjo.
Sanjo is one of those grapes that's actually does well here, and we probably can purchase it from nearby. Our own vineyard is relatively small, so we focus either on grapes that we can't have access to unless we grow them, or grapes where the viticulture really matters in terms of the quality of the wine. So
Sure.
like Cabernet Sauvignon, there's what you do in the vineyard makes a huge difference in the quality of the cab. And so we really wanted to have a nice estate cab as part of our kind of signature flight of wines.
Yeah.
I love can I say the uniqueness of your varietal selection that you're growing? It's kind of not down the main road. I mean, certainly Merlot, whatever, Petit Verdot, really. And so what I like about that, there's a winery in Napa, Massican, that, everything Napa is all red, this and Merlot and Cab and they're doing all Italian whites that you don't even know what they are. And that, you know what? They found a market niche that is screaming to be served. And they're like, yeah, you guys make all your reds and fight over the consumer while we're going to make some really lovely Italian whites. And that's where, they've stayed in their lane, and
I don't think we do a Vermentino.
I don't think so either. And I was just checking while you were talking about that. What's that?
I said not yet. Maybe they will at some point.
Maybe not yet. It really, literally, there are grapes that I struggle over the pronunciation.
Yeah,
they're really off the beaten path. So I love that idea of you actually saying, sure, we could do what everyone down here in the Snake River Valley is doing, and go with the low-hanging fruits, so to speak. But you got to go with what you love and what's fun to do. When I saw Janet's eyes light up over the Sangiovese comment, I love that, because that's what's in your heart then, right? And Sangio, I know Shelley and I kind of we're not all in on
Italian.
This is going to sound like blasphemous, but Italian Sangiovese is something on Chianti. We're like, yeah, it just lacks this and that. Well, it's because it's made for food. But you get Sangio out of Washington and now Idaho. Yes, Idaho is making wines. Idaho is no longer small potatoes, Shelley.
That's right.
No, we're not.
No, it's not.
Idaho wines are no longer small potatoes.
Yeah.
Shelley wrote
I really resonate with your comment though about finding a niche that works for you, that you feel passionately about, and that's authentic. My sense is that when we have conversations with people in the tasting room, authenticity is the one thing that people are looking for. I mean, they can tell if you're faking it or if it's just a marketing ploy or something. But if you really care about the wines and you care about what you're doing and you can see the sparkle in their eye, then people really resonate with that and it brings them out. I think, and really that's what you described really, I think describes our plans really well. We don't want to be a 10 million case winery. We want to grow to be about a 1,500 case winery and stay there. We want to keep it small enough that we still know or recognize all of our wine club members. We may not remember all of the names. I'm not good at that no matter what. But there's still that sense of individual connection, whether it's with the customers or whether it's with the varietals that we grow in the vineyard. So yeah, all of that is really genuine. One of the other things, though, I would say about the Idaho wine industry in general is that it's so new and so young that we're still trying to figure out what we do well here. And one of the things that I'm sure that you're going to experience as you interview and talk with these different wineries from around Idaho during June, since it's Idaho Wine Month, thank you very much for helping with that project, is that the vineyards are still experimental. There's this sort of entrepreneurial spirit here that's pretty palpable because people are not afraid to try some weird grape just to see if it would go well here. And then once they grow it in the vineyard, then the winemakers roll up their sleeves and they see what they can do with it in the winery. So as you go on a tasting tour here in this neck of the woods, every winery that you walk into, you'll see a slightly different take on different things or different varietals and things. It's a really fun time to be here, being part of it. It's also just a really fun time for people to come and visit, I think, Idaho Wines.
And yet, haven't there been grapevines for 100 years in your area?
There have been grapevines for 100 years in part of Idaho. But like most places, the vineyards were all torn out during Prohibition, and so that aspect of things kind of lay fallow for a while. And what was it? We learned this history pretty recently. Most of the growth of the Idaho wine industry is just in the last 20 years or so. I think.
About 40 years. Okay. The St. Chappelle was really the leader in the Idaho wine reigniting from the Prohibition years. So we give great thanks to the Sims family, and they're a big orchard growers out here. And then they started growing grapes, and then they actually built a winery. So we're very thankful that they got it going, and they've noticed that I wish I could show you the valley. We actually are in an old Idaho lake bed. So the soil here is just prime for grapes, and that's why the Sunny Slope is really a sloping area.
Did your area get touched by the Missoula muds at all?
Not the Missoula floods, but there's a different flood that came down our valley called the Bonneville flood. It was actually where where Great Salt Lake is today. There was a much bigger lake several thousand years ago, and at one point it sort of catastrophically drained and flowed down through what is now the Snake River Plain. So there are flood gravels and flood affected parts of the soil in parts of the valley that also contribute to some of the unique terroir.
So yeah. Janet, remind us of the awards for this 2021 Rosé of Graciano.
Yeah, Rosé of Graciano first kind of showed her glory with the Idaho Wine Competition. So she brought out a gold medal on that. And then any gold medal winners then are encouraged to submit to other competitions. So CJ and I decided to enter into the Sunset International Wine Competition. So there's about 3,200 admissions, and then she pulled out a silver for that one. So yeah, we're pretty excited. It was our first rosé, and there's not very many cases left. I'm going to say probably 9 cases of this wine.
I was going to ask that.
Can people buy from your website?
No, not yet.
We're hoping to grow up with that capability here in a while. We've only had the tasting room open for about 6 months, so we're still really just getting started with figuring out our business model. And we get emails occasionally from people. We got one just the other day from some folks from Iowa that were out and happened to come out to the tasting room and really liked the wines, and then they sent us an email asking if we could ship wine to them, and we'd love to be able to do that, and we're working on it. So we've made arrangements now with FedEx to be able to ship wine, and we just have to get the rest of the logistics.
So a peek behind the curtain.
I was just gonna say, honestly, we just doubled our vineyard to a year and a half ago. So this year and next year, everything's probably very small production, but in another year and a half, we'll be ready to showcase wines online. Yeah.
Although, so I mean, we should point out though that growing our production means, like, for us, a big wine production is 150 cases, right? So it's not like we're making thousands of cases of any of our wines. Yeah.
Well, we'll never get that big, but
Well, that's good, right? So you know where your target is, and you want to, and then you're going to just do the best damn job within that target frame, right? So that's fantastic, because not always growing and growing and growing. Sometimes scaling brings different challenges that you really don't want to do. Have to deal with. I was going to say,
those in the Coeur d'Alene listening, it's just a nice weekend drive down
it
there.
is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I was going to say, a peek behind the curtain. Janet and I had a conversation about 14 months ago, trying to get Famici on our little podcast, and it didn't quite work out, and which is fine. These things happen, but I don't forget. I persevere. I'm committed. I should be committed. But we got him on this year, and she said, I remember, it's like, well, remember we couldn't get wines up to you last year, and I think we can do it this year. You'll be our first one we send wines to. And it worked. So not only that, we took wines that you sent all the way up to Coeur d'Alene and brought them all the way down to Palm Desert to enjoy, and they made it, no broken bottles. And as testament, there is no bottle shock on this at all. Good. So well done. But yeah, this is a growing thing, and for sure, man, if you get the opportunity of being able to ship, then that opens everything up. It really does. This is a $26 rosé at Famici Wine Company, out of their tasting room, and it tastes like about a $45 rosé, like Provence style sort of thing that you're gonna
write that down, Janet.
I'm gonna write that down right now.
Thanks.
That should be in your marketing. It tastes like a $45. You're getting it for 26.
One thing that's been in the conversations that we have about these wines with the people that come into the tasting room, one of the things that I found about this rosé is, we have wine customers that come in and say, well, we're really only interested in the red wines. We're not really fans of white wines or rosés, and
we know
which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I usually do is say, well, I'd like you to at least try the Rosé of Graciano, and so I'll pour it for them, and a lot of times they'll be surprised at how much they like it. And one of the things that they talk about is how there are a lot of rosés out there that are basically just a very simple fruity wine. And there's nothing wrong with that on a hot day. Sometimes a beautiful, just simple fruity wine is lovely. But one of the things that they point out about this rosé is that it's kind of a red wine lover's rosé, in that there's a lot of complexity. There's a lot of different dimensions to its flavor profile. We highlighted some of the fruity aromas and tastes a little bit earlier, but I think as you would agree, as you taste it, there are other kinds of dimensions to its flavors that come out, and it does have a very nice, long, lingering flavor profile as well. So it appeals to red wine lovers who, they need something to drink in the hot summer too, right? So that's one of the groups that sometimes.
And people get the wrong idea about rosé. They're like, well, this is just like a white Zinfandel, right? Yeah.
Right.
And so this thing actually does have some weight to it. That's one of the things, and I think that's what plays in the mouth a little bit. I want to say it's 13.
Yeah.
You know, off the part of top of your head what the alcohol is on this?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
13.9.
13.9, yeah. So the fruit was fully ripe when it came in. Yeah. But Graciano has one of its characteristics is that it hangs onto its acid really well. And so it makes it sets it up to be a really nice rosé.
And there are parts of this that almost seem effervescent, but I think that's a little bit of the tartness that's coming in. And
It could be.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
And I think that's part of the acid a little bit, right? Is that little tartness. I love the fact you put the alcohol at 13.9 on the front label and about 0.0001 point font. Even for those of us who need glasses to read, still have to squint. So well played. Well done. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about dogs.
Oh.
Oh, that sounds fun.
We're going to go right back into it. Ooh, Shelley, want to do it?
Sure. No,
Yes,
no.
please.
No.
Pretty
Go
please.
ahead.
Hello, welcome back. Welcome back to Wine Time Fridays, episode 165. I think I might have said 164 the first time I even started. I'm depressed because Shelley didn't want to do the opening.
I didn't know what episode we were on. Go ahead.
We're here with Janet and CJ with Famici Wine Company. And that's hard for me to say. Famici actually means something. We are going to get into that. Are you guessing we should do the Primitivo or do you want to do the Vineyards Blend? Primitivo?
Primitivo.
I think
Absolutely.
Primitivo is a good place to go now.
Absolutely. Let me get into
When we went to break, we I teased it by saying we're going to talk about dogs. And what you guys may or may not know is that we've had a dog that's had a diaper on for many days. That seems like many weeks and feels like many months. The Lucy Diaper Report brought to you by, no, we don't have a sponsor for that. The diaper is off, Lucy is happy, and more importantly, Shelley and Phil are ecstatic. That
Until next time.
Yeah.
how old is Lucy? You have to tell more.
Oh, do tell while I pour.
She's 2.
Oh, she's only 2.
Only 2. You have to drink.
So she was potty trained.
Well, when we got her, it was sort of a adoption because our friends couldn't keep her because he was going to have back-to-back back surgery. And that was a puppy then, but they had promised they would breed her one time and they would have puppies and they could have the firstborn puppy. So now we took over that promise. So now we have to have her bred, poor dog.
Yeah,
And
Lucy.
have litter of puppies.
Yeah,
So we can give somebody a puppy.
Lucy says, I don't want to have sex. I just don't want to. And so we feel like we should respect that.
Yeah.
We don't want any dog traffic.
Her body, her choice. So,
That's right. Exactly. So, that's our dog. You guys have a dog, Rusty. But before we get to Rusty, we are going to say that we just opened the 2020 Primitivo.
Primitivo. Yeah.
That's I, not A. Primitivo, $36 at the winery. There it is right there. You know, whenever I do a rinse pour, I get a sneak peek of what this might be, and just fantastic. So here we are with a hashtag.
Cheers.
yeah.
Many times I will mark a wine's my opinion of the quality of the wine by how long it takes before I have that first sip.
Yeah.
It's just the nose is just goes. I mean, I just cannot just keep smelling. This has got for the sake of keeping the time under the Lorraine Betts record of hour and 58 minutes for the episode. Well, who knows? We could go over. This is fantastic. This has got a fantastic note. We haven't even tasted it.
It gets better.
That is delicious.
I'm so happy right now.
Yeah.
What would make me even more happy is talk about Rusty a little bit.
All right, talk about it.
Your pup.
Yeah. Our pup.
The pup picture on the website is so cute. But that's not the same pup anymore. It's a little bigger.
He's much bigger.
He's bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been a fascinating being to get to know. He's we adopted him from the local humane society when he had been picked up as a stray on the streets of the town here, and so we don't know much about his early history.
Good for you guys for doing that, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Rusty really appreciates that, even though he may not show it all the time.
I think he does.
He actually does. I have to say,
Put him in a golf cart. He
oh
shows
my
it.
gosh, yeah. No,
It's his space.
yeah, Rusty he's a very interesting being, but he does express appreciation for his place and his people. But you're right, he's also very stubborn, and he's not very patient, which makes him fit in really well around here, actually. So
Whoa, Janet. On the audio portion of this podcast, which is really where we put the importance on, no one will just notice that Janet was pointing at CJ and throwing him under the bus. Those of YouTube saw the whole kid.
it would be legitimate to point in any direction in our family with that description. So
Okay, fair enough.
I will own it.
Okay, that's fair.
Fair enough. I that's an indirect slapback, I guess, is what we call that.
I'll say one more thing about Rusty. We had really he would be a winery dog, and we bring him out every now and then just to give him a little test to see if he can do it. But my daughter was so curious about his what breed he is, and we got him tested. He's actually a cow dog. So when he's in the winery, even though we tell people now he's a cow dog, we'll watch him carefully. But there's been a couple times where people are walking out and cow dogs herd, and they herd by nipping. And so never broken skin, never broken fabric, but every now and then there's just a little nip that goes along with his not greeting, but usually as they
Yeah, you can't really train that out, I don't think.
No, not very easily.
We tried really hard. Yeah.
Well, my understanding of talking to at least a couple people with some experience, that they sort of shake their head and say, well, you might be able to blunt it, but you're not going to ever get it.
Define blunt.
We're hoping with a fine wine, he's going to age well, and he'll just
exactly
age into it. Yeah.
He's a very weird looking dog, I have to say. He looks like no, and I mean that with all the affection in the world. His best or most distinctive feature are these giant ears. He looks as if a gremlin and Yoda had a baby. Then they had this like really fuzzy ears and so forth. But he's a very sweet guy. I took some pictures of him. I don't know whether they'll show up. Where's the camera? So this is, oh no, that's not going to work. There's too much reflection.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do is I'm going to take a screenshot of your dog, and tomorrow, Saturday, June 17th, I will post that on the Facebook page.
Awesome. Well, I will forward to you some of these photos of Rusty then of him. We tried to capture, he can smile like more than most dogs that I've ever met before, when he's really just in ecstasy, if you're rubbing his belly and whatnot. So we have some of Rusty that are really, really fun.
That's okay.
We should talk
So
about
does
this
he
one.
need people to go out and away? Is that what he's trying to do? Herding them away?
Yeah, I think he's trying to help keep the herd together, which is one reason why he's fine with a smaller group of people. But when we bring him out into the tasting room when there's lots of people, then his perspective is the herd is completely out of control.
Yeah.
And I've got to go to work.
Yeah, that's right. I got to get after this, right? Yeah.
Putting like a wine bag on his back, and he can carry people's wine.
Oh, I love that.
We'll see if that works out.
Oh, I love that. I am a huge fan of vineyard dogs, winery dogs. I think Vapiano and Walla Walla's got a vineyard dog. There's many. I think Eternal Wine even has a wine dog. Many wineries have vineyard dogs, for estate wines and things like that. And they're the best. You were talking about authenticity before, CJ, and
yeah,
what people don't understand, and both Shelley and I work with businesses a lot, they just want perfection out there. And I try to pull that back a little bit. It's like what people want is to buy from people. Mm-hmm. They want to have that connection, relationship, engagement with people.
Yep.
yes, it doesn't hurt that your juice is really good. Hey, that's fantastic. But that should be a given, right? Now it's because there's a lot of good wine out there. Now it's how do they connect with you guys and your dog and your backstory and your just because as we'll always go back to, we love the stories. That's why we bring people on is we love the stories because every story is unique in and of itself. And we get great wine out of it. But stories are really what connect people.
So this is the Primitivo. I'm trying to get you going, which is I've had cravings for Zinfandel for like the past 6 months. So
yeah, so this gets you partway there for sure. Yeah, it's interesting that Primitivo and Zinfandel are, they recognized in the last several years that they're genetically the same grape. Who knew, right?
They're more than just kissing cousins, yeah.
That's right. They're not. That's right. But it's what's also interesting to me is the distinctive styles, right? So an Italian Primitivo is made in a different style than a classic California Zin, even though they're made from grapes that at least genetically are identical. Our Primitivo is probably not surprisingly modeled more after the Italian style from a winemaking style. So that's sort of what we go after more so. But one of the things that they both have in common, and I think is certainly true with our Primitivo, is this just beautiful fruitiness. There's this kind of overwhelming sense of grapiness and fruitiness that comes through in the glass, and that's balanced by some sort of gentle oak support as well in this wine.
It's definitely a fan favorite.
Oh, I'll bet. I can't imagine. I'm just getting the depth of the dark fruit in this.
Yeah.
2020.
This is 2020.
I mean, it doesn't feel too big like some can feel.
Shelley, what do you think the alcohol is on this?
It's probably 15-ish.
It's 15.5.
15.5.
And at
But it doesn't feel good.
At the front end, I was getting the heat, but now that it's opened up a bit, the heat has gone away. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things about pouring and sipping. I don't like using aerators and things like that on even older wines. I like to see the taste,
Evolution.
the evolution, evolvement.
Yeah.
The evolution as it opens up and grow.
One thing that's a little different. I mean, it's not unusual to have a 15.5 Zinfandel from Lodi or whatever. And in that case, the high alcohol is coming from the really late harvest. So they'll let those grapes hang and get the sugars up really high so that finished alcohol ends up really high in the grapes. In this case, the grapes were picked at a sugar level that would normally finish out at about 14 bricks, or about 40% alcohol. But what happens in Idaho, because our climate is so dry, during the 2 years in barrel, the humidity makes a big difference during barrel aging, right? So, as you know, about 10% of the volume typically of a wine will get replaced during barrel aging because of the angel share escaping, right? So water and alcohol are both evaporating out of the barrel over that time that it's aging. But the relative rate of alcohol versus water evaporation depends on the humidity of the environment. And so in a really dry environment, the water evaporates more quickly than the alcohol. And so it concentrates the alcohol in the remaining wine in the barrel. And so in Idaho, it's not.
It makes sense though. It makes perfect sense.
So in Idaho, it's not unusual, at least in the cellars that we've been working with, for the alcohol to increase substantially, or at least measurably, over the time that the wine spends in barrel.
I know it's been a trend to produce wines that are higher and higher in alcohol. I was actually the last time I was down in Palm Desert without Shelley, but I went into a Ralph's, and it was a Memorial Day weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and they were pouring some sample wines and whatever. And this person's like, this is like a good replacer for wine. And I said, okay. And I tasted, and she says, well, the alcohol is like 18%. It's like, well, that's a lot. Well, I mean, most people want really high alcohol. I'm like, those are the people who want to get drunk. What about, I'm like, we're trying to steer away. I really hope that this trend And sometimes you, like
But
you mentioned, you
a lot
can't,
of it's the terroir.
right, the terroir and whatnot, but I think that there is an element of choice behind it.
Mhm.
And I think that most people that enjoy wine, dare I say the right way, don't care if it's got the high heat. We want a wine, like I said, that first sip, I could taste the heat. I could feel the heat, but then it tapered off. It's still gonna be 15.5, but that's because of the process of how you make it down in your area when it's so dry.
It also matters how it's. I couldn't agree with you more about both the trend towards alcohol and kind of the desire to see that turn around. You know, frankly, from a winemaker perspective, it's easier to build a wine that's in balance at lower alcohol levels than at high alcohol. At higher alcohol, wines tend to come apart. You've probably seen those things. Otherwise, it's a great wine, but suddenly it gets really it's high alcohol. It may not age very well because it's just there's too much going on. It's just out of balance. But there are things you can do in the vineyard to try to bring the phenolic ripeness, the kind of ripeness of the fruits, flavors, and the seeds and the tannins, to get that ripening, the phenolic ripening, in sync with the sugar ripeness. And that's really what you need, right? Because the sugar level is what controls the finished alcohol for the most part. But you want to make sure that the seed and the phenolic ripeness is there at the time that the grapes reach the sugar level that you want for the finished alcohol. And what's happened in a lot of the United States winemaking community, I think, is this desire for more ripeness in the grapes. And so to get that ripeness in the fruit and the seeds and the tannins coming out of the vineyard, that means they've let the grapes hang a long, long time, but that means that the price you're paying is that the sugar goes up, so the finished alcohol goes up too. But there are things you can do in the vineyard to manage it in different ways to cause that balance to happen at a lower sugar level. And we just maybe need to start to look into that a bit more.
Janet, do tell. We want to know the awards for this.
Well, oh gosh. We actually just won an award on this wine at the Cascadia International Competition.
Nice.
We pulled a double gold.
Not on this.
Not on this one. We pulled a double gold from that competition, and then 2 gold medals. And this is one of the gold medal winners.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Cascadia was nice enough to drag their feet on giving us the results.
I have to pull a plug in just for the Sunny Sub Wine Trail. So there's 18 wineries that are out here, and in that competition, we pulled about 37% of the gold medal winners. So we're pretty proud of that as a whole group.
Yeah, talk a little bit about the Sunny Slope. Is that a sub AVA?
It's not yet. So right now we are all in the AVA called the Snake River Valley AVA. It's the largest AVA in Idaho. And there's some beautiful maps online. You can look them up. We actually had people come and visit just because of the AVA. It's interesting. People seek out AVAs to just go visit. So it's fun to meet them. But in Idaho, we have 3 AVAs currently. We have a Lewiston, which is close to you. We also have the Eagle AVA. And then we have the Snake River AVA. And hopefully in the near future, not too far away, we'll have a Sunny Slope AVA. We're working on that right now.
Yeah.
The Lewis Clark is in Lewiston, yes?
Yeah, so the Lewis and Clark AVA encompasses the valley right around Lewiston. That's where Rivera, that you mentioned earlier, is located. Shout out to Lane.
Yes, Lane, we love you.
You know what? We are actually going to walk their vineyards tomorrow with Lane.
I would love to be there.
Yeah, say hi for us. Yeah,
we will absolutely do that. Lane is great.
Lane is awesome.
So 150. And I only remember that because we were halfway between 100 and 200, and we did Rabora out of their tasting room, their new tasting room in downtown Coeur d'Alene. So they're all estate wines. I know that you guys have
Mostly estate.
You have mostly estate wines.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. We have 2 labels currently. The Famici label, and by the way, I'll just go into the name Famici. We put 2 Italian words together for familia and amici, for family and friends. And that's really why we exist out here. When CJ was saying earlier about friends coming and helping, harvest and pound posts and plant plants and help with our tasting room. It's truly why we exist. And so we give great thanks to all of our family and friends who have brought us where we are today.
Wow.
So our two labels, though, anything with the Famici label like this is anything that is it's our estate grapes. We also have another label, it's called Vicino.
Vicino.
Vicino in Italian means neighboring or nearby. And one of our friends actually gave us the idea for this. And so we have this beautiful label. They both have an iconic statement on it. This is Lizard Butte. So when you two come to visit us someday, we'll point out Lizard Butte when we go visit Alejandra's for Mexican food are outstanding. Anyway, Lizard Butte is on both labels, and it's this is the view from our kitchen window, and the other one is actually where you see the lizard. So coming from Marcin on the highway, you'll see the lizard disappear on the butte. So they're both beautiful. And Vicino means neighboring or nearby. So that means that those are the grapes that we pull from other areas.
Yeah.
Well, you just let the cat out of the bag.
Oh, what was that?
Pizza company.
We have Vicino Neapolitan Pizza.
I know, I need to carry your wine.
That would be really helpful, but our social web wine word of the week is Vicino.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so, like you said, Italian word meaning neighbor and nearby. And when we come back, we're going to actually talk a little bit. Well, when we come back, and then CJ comes back too, we're going to talk a little bit about your Famici Wine Club.
Okay.
And the Vicino series wine.
I think CJ just went to go grab a label so you can see the Vicino label versus
So
the.
we can, so this is the lizard slope?
No, this is the Butte.
It's Lizard Butte. Yeah. And so you can see the lizard in a different direction.
That's very
wow.
cool.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's the view of that Lizard Butte from coming the other direction. It looks like a lizard laying out on a rock,
Yeah.
sunning itself in the warmth. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who does
Yeah.
your artwork?
we do the artwork. we also
I love that, by the way.
we also sweep the floors, and we take out the
Yeah,
trash.
clean the toilets.
I'll bet you do a lot of bean counting too, don't you?
Yes, we do a lot of that as well.
However, on that label specifically, we worked with a college group of students in our financial plan, and one of them was very artistic. So I took a picture of the lizard, and then she created the colors for the rest of the Vicino label. So we give great thanks to Chiarli. She is a fantastic artist, and she's helped us in many aspects of the music.
I did not do that.
Somebody gave a thumbs up. There's nobody else on this call.
Who's that?
Great question.
Magic.
Our assistant's not on this call. Forget that. And we're a little worried about that.
Oh. You just did that.
Yeah.
Okay, that is it.
Coming in.
No. Thank you for that. Super excited. Vicino is actually going to come into play a lot on this episode tonight, I think.
Well, you're going to have to come down here and taste that one because it is delicious. It's a beautiful Cabernet. So,
yeah, we will have to. Actually, I was supposed to come down there this month anyway for a conference, a creators conference.
oh, good.
Well, if you find yourself in our neck of the woods, would definitely be fun to go out and taste some wine together.
Please, that'd be really fun.
I can't imagine a better time, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think they would be, literally anybody in the wine business are fun to begin with. By the way, in the tasting room, you get the best conversations with people because generally there are those 5% of people that go, no, I don't drink anything white. It's got to be red, whatever. We all know those people, and they're a little bit narrow-minded, in my opinion. Most people that go into the tasting room, they just enjoy wine and enjoy having a good time. And that's the best.
It is really. One of the greatest gifts is actually meeting new friends. And a lot of them become family we just had a club member event that was fantastic, and it was just lovely. Everybody was just, honestly, they're just family now. Yeah.
I love that.
Cool thing.
By
Yeah.
the way, that's going to be the foundation of you guys evolving.
So the wine word of the week.
I just said it.
Oh, okay. Well, I know you said it, but did you have anything else to say about it?
I will down the road.
Oh, down the road. Okay.
But we have some surprises here, Shelley.
Oh,
I don't even think
watch
CJ
out,
knows.
Shelley.
We'll finish before now.
No, we're not finishing before an hour. Ha! What? Uh-oh. I just got the look.
Oh,
I try not to look into the eyes.
Posted to 20 minutes.
That.
Yeah, 20-minute episodes go out the door when we have guests. And
Oh.
so just so you know.
Actually, I'm just sipping this Primitivo again, and it made me wonder, are there other things that you'd like to know about our Primitivo specifically, or Primitivo in general, or what have you? Because it's,
Specifically.
well, so it is I'd say it's our most popular wine.
Oh.
If there was going to be one sort of iconic wine for our vineyard or our winery, at least right now, I'd say our wine club members and the people that come in the tasting room, the wine that they talk about and that draws people into the tasting room is Primitivo.
Oh.
It is a lovely wine. It seems to do very well in our vineyard site. So it'll year after year, vintage after we're tasting the 2020 Primitivo, but every year the Primitivo comes in, and it varies a little bit in terms of vintage to vintage, but it just seems to be this beautiful grape. As a winemaker, when grapes come in the door, you analyze the chemistry a little bit, and you start to make your plans for what you're going to do with this wine. And every once in a while, some grapes will come through the door, and you look at it and you just think, okay, my job is just to get out of the way and let this wine become what it wants to be. And that's what happens with our Primitivo. As a winemaker, my job is just not to mess it up.
That's funny. Our pastor at our church said the same thing in terms
That's
of,
funny, I thought of that too.
yeah, my job here is just not to screw things up, because the church has been doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I just want to, and so much like that. And that takes a skill. There is an art form of that, of just a guiding, taking what you get, trying not to screw it up. Yeah, for sure.
That's true. Yeah.
And
Well,
how
and
long have you been making this one, the Primitivo?
We started making this, I think the first year we had Primitivo maybe was in 2016. It was just for our friends and family at that point. And the first vintage that we released to the public was the 2019 Primitivo, the year before the one that we're tasting now. And it sold out in very, just within a couple months. And then we released this 2020 Primitivo with our wine club just in late April, and we're down to just a few bottles left actually at this point. It'll be gone in no time.
And what is the very first wine you released to the public?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. When we opened the tasting room in last October, 6 months ago, we opened with our 2019 vintage. And so at that time we had Primitivo, the red Graciano, and a Vineyard Blend. That's a wine that we'll taste a version of here in a little bit too, and a Malbec as our estate red wines. And then we had the Rosé of Graciano that we're tasting now too, that was made just that previous fall. So it, because rosés come out just the year after, the 21 Rosé was in line to release at that point as well.
And then a beautiful Chardonnay from the Rose Cottage vineyard.
Good for you guys.
Yeah, that's what we started with.
You guys put your Chardonnay on neutral oak, little oak, or no oak at all?
It depends on the year. So we're still trying to figure out Chardonnay, or whether we even will continue to make it. The first year we did, which was this 21 Chardonnay, we did it as a barrel fermented Chardonnay with mostly neutral oak. So with some lees stirring, and so we got back to that sort of, we talked about how mouthfeel is a really important component for me or us as winemakers. And so letting that Chardonnay rest on the light lees and stirring the lees up into that to sort of enhance that kind of creaminess and viscosity of the wine was an important winemaking decision that year. But it was barrel fermented. And then the next year, we've only made 2 vintages of Chardonnay. We thought, well, let's try stainless. So we did a stainless fermented Chardonnay, and left out the barrel fermentation. And it's interesting to taste them side by side and see the differences between them. It's because they're 2 different vintages, and in that case, actually, the grapes came from 2 different vineyards as well. It's sometimes hard to tease out what's different in the winemaking style versus the fruit, but it has the differences that you might expect, right? So the stainless fermented wine tends to hold its sort of aromatics more. It didn't leak away in the way that it does often with barrel fermentation. So they're very interesting. It's interesting. One of the things that I appreciate about Chardonnay is that it's such a versatile grape, right? You can do so many different things with it. It's not my favorite personal white, actually, honestly, but I respect the fact that it is a really versatile grape and that you can do so many different things with it.
It's the highest selling wine in the United States, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, I think you're right. That's right.
Well, Riesling's the world. I think the U.S. is Chardonnay.
Yeah.
So
we're still trying to decide if we're going to continue making Chardonnays into the future.
well, by the way, you can always make a little Chardonnay just for you guys.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd rather have a Vermentino, an Albarino. I mean, yeah, there's some
I
other
love
wines.
to listen to Janet's dialect change when she's making.
Yeah, he looks
She does. She may not know it, but she definitely has some Italian in her soul, because it comes out when she starts to talk, especially about wine. It's right, her Italian comes through it.
somewhere back there.
Well,
Must be.
so we should probably get to this aforementioned 2020 Vineyard Blend from the Snake River.
Vineyard Blend.
Idaho.
Yes.
There we are.
Mm.
And I've
Another
already poured,
winner.
so yes.
Yeah.
We should go ahead and cheers this up, toast it up. Hashtag cheersing.
We're behind.
Yep, we'll catch up here.
Oh, I see something going. Hopefully that's not a spit bucket. Please say.
No, we're behind. We just needed to get some pouring.
Well,
Yeah.
you guys were ahead to
There you
begin, so now we've all balanced
We're
out.
back neck and neck at this point, I guess, right?
All right. So this is a 14.9, I think, 14.9 alcohol. This has
And
got
this
a
is a-
$36 at the winery. And what is the blend of this, by the way?
Yeah, so Vineyard Blend has an interesting story. You can think of it as a classic Bordeaux blend inverted or upside down. So a classic Bordeaux is made out of mostly Cab and then some Merlot and then diminishing amounts of like Malbec and maybe just a little bit of Petit Verdot. This is exactly the same grapes, but in the opposite relationship. So it's led by Petit Verdot.
Oh,
Wow.
And then the next most important grape is Malbec. And then it has some Merlot in it, and then just a little bit of Cab. So it's the opposite ratios. It's in part because Petit Verdot is a grape that seems to be doing really well here in Idaho. I have to say, among the kind of varietal reds, consistently Petit Verdot seems to ripen really well here and develop these beautiful varietal characteristics that makes it just really lovely. So we started planting it, and it ends up being the lead grape in our vineyard blend. Another aspect of our vineyard blend that's unusual is that it's co-fermented. So most red blends, all of the varieties that go into the blend are made as separate varietal wines, and then after they're already vinified into wine, then they go back and they blend them into a blend, right? And the advantage of that is you can adjust and tweak the ratios of the different grapes, right? But the other way to make a blend is to co-ferment, which is what we do. And that's where you commit to the blend of the grapes right out of the vineyard. So you take the fruit as it's coming off the vines and you put them in the bins together, and then they go through the entire winemaking process already mixed together. They go through the fermentation and all the aging and so forth. And the trade-off there is that you get much more integration of the flavors. It's just like cooking. When you put the herbs in early in a cooking, the herbs have a chance to infuse and blend more with the food. And the same is true with winemaking. The earlier you integrate something into the winemaking process, the more seamlessly it becomes integrated into the final product.
So
It's also
blend, they blend after they've been barrel fermented and then they blend typically?
Yeah, a lot of red blends are constructed actually right before they bottle. So they'll actually make them as separate wines, and then they will they may even age them out for a couple of years in barrel as separate individual varietals, and then they'll go back and compose the blend. And that's, you know, again, it gives you the flexibility of adjusting the ratios. At least that's the best case scenario. I mean, cynically, you could argue that what they do is take all the rest of the leftover bits of wine after they're done bottling up the other parts, and they put it all together, and that becomes the red blend, right? But for our red blend, this co-fermentation is actually a historical artifact for us too, because we talked earlier about how when we first started planting the vineyard, we just planted a little bit of several different varieties. And when we started, we didn't have enough of any one of those red grapes to fill a barrel. And so we threw them all into one big bucket and fermented them together just to fill one barrel of wine.
Sure.
But we loved what came out of that co-fermentation so much that we've just made our red blend that way ever since. And so even as the vineyard has gotten bigger and we have the potential to ferment those wines separately, we've always set aside the grapes that we're going to commit to the vineyard blend and put them all together and co-fermented them right in the process.
So when you first did that, did you write down like a percentage of what you put in? Like,
oh, that sounds way too organized. And
oh my gosh. I was thinking you would say, oh, heck yeah, why would we not have
Wait. Absolutely we did. Yes, that's exactly right. No.
absolutely.
I think you already showed your hand, CJ.
There's kind of a middle point there that's probably the most honest answer. So it is true that what we've done is because we planted these small amounts of grapes in that original co-fermentation, there were just 2 rows of Petit Verdot and 1 row of Malbec and like a half a row of Merlot. And so we've actually honored that sort of crude ratio of those grapes from that original planting in the way we compose it. But because in any given year, maybe the Petit Verdot sets a lot of fruit and hangs heavy one year, the actual ratios would vary from year to year a bit. But in terms of the vineyard space allocations that go into it, yeah, we pretty much follow the same recipe, if you will, as that original blend.
Nice.
One of the things that makes, you know, the Kendall Jackson brand so popular is that they just do the same blend every year, the same. They just have this vat of
the same taste.
Yeah, to keep that same taste. I think that model is just fine when you're mass producing wine. Sure. I have no problem with that. Part of what I love about wine is that, you know, first of all, you can't possibly taste every wine that's made in the world.
Right.
If you do,
but we can try.
Alcoholic. But if you do,
you can start over the next.
You start over the next year because it's a completely different vintage. It's one of the great things about wine is that, you know, not to geek out or anything, and I'm by no stretch of the imagination do I even necessarily taste all the nuances from vintage to vintage, but it is absolutely something that's there when you have all these variables, the vintage, the terroir, the weather from that vintage, the fires, is there smoke taint, no smoke taint, all of that stuff. And by the way, I'm not sure why you couldn't have bottled that juice that did have the smoke taint, because it's a different characteristic.
It's part of that vintage.
Absolutely.
You know, it might not meet the characteristics of that terroir wine, but it might for this terroir wine, and so it's not bad, and you might be able to recoup some of your losses from.
Well, and I like what you just said about I get why the big wineries are going for consistency, so that the vintage year really doesn't matter. They can make the wine taste remarkably consistently from year to year. But part of that makes me sad too, because part of the beauty of wine, as you're describing, is that there's that vintage to vintage variability. And when you pour a wine in the glass, part of the story, the flavor that you get is the story of that wine. And it tells you something about that particular year. And so that kind of story is lost when they generify the wines in the ways that sometimes mass-produced wines often are, which makes it lovely when you go to a small winery where they still, handcraft each wine from grapes that are unique to each vintage.
It's actually something we want to do in the near future. We held back a little bit in our library, enough so that we can offer a vertical tasting to our wine club members. So right now we'll be able to do a vertical with the Vineyard Blend, and then we'll also be able to do a vertical with the Primitivo. So we hope to be able to offer those things more, because it is so interesting. It's one of the things I find most fascinating is just those nuanced differences of each year. And like you said, there's so many things that affect that.
Yeah,
That'll be so fun for them.
oh, so much. And what you said, CJ, about that vintage, I must say this from the movie Sideways. I like to think about the life of wine, how it's a living thing. I like to think about what was going on the year the grapes were growing, how the sun is shining, if it rained. I like to think about all the people who tended and picked the grapes. And if it's an old wine, how many of them must be dead by now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's right.
And that whole thing, right? But that is the essence. That is the story behind the wine, which we love so much, and why we have guests on, because every story will be different. And yes, do you run the risk on a bad vintage of not producing a wine that was up to the par of the other vintages? Yes, you do. But in and of itself, you do have to. That's a Chuck Knox. We're gonna play the hands we're dealt.
Yeah. Well, the problem with trying to make it taste generically the same every year is that what you can do is create a really consistent B+ wine, right? But what you lose is the ability to occasionally have an A+ wine, or that just extremely amazing wine. Yeah. So
I mean, I love that idea of what you guys are doing, and that I believe is the way to go. And like I said, you may. I know you're checking the time. All you have to do is look up there. It says 5:08. You don't have to go tap your phone.
I do.
We're all having fun here, are we not?
well, of course, yeah.
Are you guys ready to leave?
No, you can
right now.
We can have a conversation that lasts as long as you want to, and then you can edit it down to whatever length you want. That's fine.
Yeah, that's nice.
The lawnmower guy that's coming, and I've got to get the dogs in the house because they'll want to tear them apart.
Well,
I will say about this, the Vineyard Blend wine. It's our most celebrated wine from an official kind of competition sense. It's loved in our tasting room too, but I'd say the nod would go to the Primitivo, just from the kind of people walking in the door and tasting wines and saying, "Oh my God, this is the one I really want to have." And
they come in asking for it.
Right. Yeah, we need to come down there and get some more.
Well,
but
this is only going to last probably tonight.
There you go. Yeah.
Here's to that.
Yeah.
I think we're having sushi tonight, but that might change.
It goes with anything. But the Vineyard Blend, and we're still new, right? So we're still figuring this out. But the Vineyard Blend across different vintages now, not in the same year, is the one wine that has won the most acclaim from competitions. It's won a double gold twice, a best of category once so far. And so, we're really happy with it. We'll certainly continue to make our Vineyard Blend and do it as a co-fermented blend for the reasons that we talked about for the foreseeable future.
That's really interesting that it leads with Vermentino. I doubt there's not very many of those.
No, Vermentino, there's not much around. In fact, I'm very sure that we have the only Vermentino in Idaho. And even in the Pacific Northwest, there are only a few producers that have a bit of Vermentino. A couple in California, I think one in maybe in Oregon as well. So it's definitely a wine that is a signature grape of ours, and we'd love to share it with you maybe when you come down to taste wine here.
Absolutely. I just want to add, we were recently.
So we're coming down.
Right.
Are coming. I was going to say we were recently contacted by a winery in the Walla Walla area, and his winemaker is from Rome, and he asked about our Vermentino and actually wanted to, you know, possibly.
There's nothing wrong with collabs. Nothing.
Yeah.
wrong with collabs. Yeah, what does?
About how we got here, so.
He would like to get some cuttings from our
Yes.
Vermentino.
Nice,
So we'll see how that works out.
nice.
Yeah.
Our
Well,
Vermentino.
That's kind of like the whole puppy thing.
I think this vineyards blend
Is-
would be great with a little of that Carmenere you're going to start producing, and
Oh.
that would still be a Bordeaux blend.
It would, that's right.
Interesting.
That probably
Hey,
is an allowable grape in the Bordeaux recipe.
that's exactly right.
Yeah. It
So
likes
go ahead. Go ahead.
It needs a little Cab Franc as well.
Yeah.
Oh, who's
Cap-
arguing for that?
Yeah. Well. Oh, who is? Are you CJ?
Is it
I am,
the-
yeah.
Oh, Cab Franc is my favorite varietal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
then you really have to come down
yeah.
soon.
so Janet is now the winemaker of record. Janet is the winemaker of Cab Franc. We got some Cab Franc last year, and she is the official winemaker.
I love that.
Ah.
And now we've got some intermarriage competition. This is fantastic.
I wasn't going to say that, but you know, possible that for the 2022 vintage, there will be a little bit of a wager on whose wine will do the best.
I love the way he does this. This is good. So some wines we enjoyed this week. We should try to wrap this up, or
Yeah.
will we?
Oh.
I can't pronounce it. Shelley, can you do this? El Fano de. Can you do that?
It's a Toscana wine.
It's a Toscana. Okay. That we got from the Culinary Stone. We have the
J. Book Walter,
Yes, Reader's
Reader's
Chardonnay.
Chardonnay.
Great value wine.
Mm.
Okay.
Canteen, Diora, Galere, or Pinot Grigio.
That was
Ooh.
from the Gary V Wine Club.
Old Pinot Grigio. Akiyoshi Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yes.
Rive de Malva Saint Joseph.
Saint-Joseph.
Saint Joseph.
He said,
Oh, no.
yeah, that is well done. Yeah, that was also Gary V. Go ahead.
Jules Taylor Sauvignon Blanc.
Very good. That was from Studio 107.
And F. Stephen Miller Red Blend.
That was fantastic too. And we've got some,
And we don't have any bad ones this week.
no, we don't.
The past couple of weeks, we've had a couple like, don't ever buy this.
What are some of the wine days coming up?
International Rosé Day on the 23rd.
Wait, that's already in the past. That's not on here. International, no. That you've got the wrong thing. It's up here.
All right.
Oh, that's this week. We've got International Drink Chenin Blanc Day.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. International Drink Chenin Blanc Day
It's today.
is today, the 16th, my sister's birthday. Happy birthday.
Okay.
Nice.
Do you have any recommendations for Chenin Blanc? We
No,
got it.
not yet.
Okay.
A good one.
We did, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, we did have a good one. We'll find it. And
I think it was
write
a Chenin Blanc through Naked Wines, to be honest.
Might be.
Yeah.
I thought
Keep
it was
going.
Gary V though.
Keep going.
And then Drink Chenin Blanc Day is on the 20th. And Lambrusco Day is on Thursday, 6/21. I actually love Lambrusco in the summer.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
What is that?
Vecchia.
Lambrusco?
Wait, where did Janet go? Oh,
Yeah, the Lambrusco.
She's running off to the back room to get something.
we saw.
That's funny.
Oh.
What? Could this be?
Did you both get
hi, honey.
Come on.
Oh,
funny?
Now, this, all seriousness, is not Janet's number one go-to Lambrusco.
No.
And that's okay, because Fred Meyer carried a Lambrusco. Janet, good job for doing that. Look at the top
look
of
at that.
this.
Oh, wow. That looks painful. Yeah.
I
beautiful.
actually, the owner and operator, yeah, it does look painful, doesn't it?
Yeah, if that was happening to me, I would be screaming right now, but yeah. Okay.
I can't imagine that you're wrong about that.
How?
The owner operator of Vicino
Yeah,
Neapolitan Pizzeria in well, she said this would be anticlimactic. In Coeur d'Alene. I got that there. Help.
Don't.
So this
so
is
it sounds like we need to come up to Coeur d'Alene and go to this pizza place and bring a bottle of
Yeah, Naomi would love that. Naomi says this is very easy to open. It's anticlimactic, but I'm not finding that to be true. Have you got yours open yet, Janet?
CJ's on it.
Oh, wait, I didn't know I was on it, but now I am.
Okay. We might have to get another opener. I just need to, gosh, bless it. Okay, so I'm gonna go get another tool.
Having the right tool matters.
It does.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it's cold though.
Yeah.
So this came out of the fridge about 45 minutes ago.
Okay.
Which is, you want to take a lot of that chill off. I'm gonna get this damn thing off. I don't care if I break their spoon.
Here it comes. All right.
Ours is opening faster than yours.
Oh, now it's a damn competition. Shelley, you know what I am like with competitions.
Okay. No pressure.
There's some scissors.
Maybe.
I believe in you, Phil.
Have you got yours open already?
Yeah, but see, we had the modern, we enjoyed the benefit of the modern screw cap. So that helps a lot.
Shelley, I might be breaking my
Oh, Lambrusco.
oh my gosh. I think I've almost got it actually, because if you'll notice, I'm screwing right through it. Those of our friends on YouTube are laughing. I got it.
Challenge.
Good. It only took 8 minutes.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Wow. Yep.
Thank you, Naomi, for lying through your teeth about this.
Can I have another one of those?
Nice.
Okay.
So,
Lambrusco.
Lambrusco.
Shelley.
cheers.
Oh, look at that fizz. Ooh.
Is that much,
Mhm.
Phil?
They said this does.
Yeah, but they got bubbles.
That's because it's pork finish.
Yeah, this is not a competition, or is it?
Ooh.
No.
Hashtag cheersy.
Color. Very nice.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Oh,
cheers.
look at how dark yours is.
I
Wow.
know, seriously.
This is a gorgeous wine, actually.
Wow.
Los dedos.
This Lambrusco's bubbles go right in.
So Janet and I may have been conspiring.
Yeah.
I feel like it might have been conspiring.
So a real quick story. Yesterday, so I will say this is Wednesday. So I will say, I'll take all that out. So
Good.
Tuesday of this week, Janet texted me about today's episode. And I was just like, okay, this is great. Have you got the Lambrusco? And then she said something to the effect, she hadn't got it yet, but she said, you need to stop by. What did you say, Janet? You said, I need to stop by on the way back.
Yes.
Stop by Saturday, which is tomorrow.
Yes.
A fudge pairing that is freaking awesome.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm so confused. So I called because I was so confused. This is when I was at the store on Tuesday. But talk about the fudge pairing. It's a musician that's a Boise fan favorite for 40 years.
Yeah.
It's really not far out of our way, but it is because we're going to be in North Idaho tomorrow. And,
Well, I was hoping maybe you could just drive on through and catch it, but yeah, we're having a fudge pairing with a local restaurant, the Orchard House. They make homemade fudge.
Nice.
We thought, and it's, I mean, we nailed it. I'm just not going to lie about it. The fudge that goes with the wine is just perfect. So I'll save some fudge for when you come down so you can taste it. It's so good. Yes. And then Sunday for Father's Day, we've got Mike Kramer, who is a fan favorite for 40 years. We're so blessed to have him come and celebrate Father's Day with us.
Janet, you and I also talked about food pairings with your rosé, right? Did you have anything that you have there?
Right now?
Something chocolate and raspberry?
Oh, well, you mean the fudge? You're talking about the fudge.
I am.
Yes.
You
It's
ate
like,
it.
I don't, I don't have it right here. I should have brought a piece in.
Well, I have something.
Raspberry cream. Did you get some?
I didn't get exactly it, and I forgot to bring it out of the fridge. I was so worried about the Lambrusco, but it's a fudge cupcake is what it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
with the Vineyard Blend, Phil. Bring that on.
Twist my ow. You don't have to twist that hard.
So when you guys come down to visit,
Five.
we'll go to the orchard. We'll go to the orchard house and we'll get some of these
Oh, we
fudges,
will.
and we'll do our own fudge tasting.
Yes.
Because I appreciate a good pairing with wine, but I have to say the fudge combinations with those wines were unbelievable. They just open up this incredible aromatic profile that I thought was really special and kind of amazing.
Yeah,
So
we're pretty excited.
looking forward to it.
My thought is that wine is, I hate to use Trevor's words, but transcendent. Okay. But here's what really takes that above and beyond is when you get that wine and food pairing that just like it's ecstasy is a very strong word, but it really is. It brings you to a really good point. Some food pairings for this Lambrusco. And by the way, we never talked about many food pairings of any of these wines that we can revisit if we want. But this is cured meats,
With
pasta.
Lambrusco.
Yeah, with the Lambrusco.
And this, the one wine glass, it's still bubbling, and this one is all fizzed out.
Well, yeah. So we generally drink wine from Andrea Robinson's The One Wine Glass. She's a master sommelier that has developed the one white and the one red wine glass.
Nice.
So that you don't have to have 30,000 Riedel glasses in your cupboard. Okay. And these are the red one. We have the white one, which is a little smaller. It's kind of like a Pinot look, right? Okay. But the one white works fantastic for sparklers. Okay. Better than a fluted glass, in our opinion.
Yeah.
But look at, so this is still fizzy, and Shelley's
is dead.
Has basically gotten still.
Oh, wow.
Wow, glass matters.
Glass does matter. Yeah. And not that we got these as backup for tonight, just in case, but these are not the most expensive glasses by any stretch. But yeah, it really does. Because you want my
I'll have it later.
Okay.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
Do you have suggestions to pair with the other wines offhand?
Wow, that's always a good, interesting question. We try to suggest a few pairings actually on our back labels usually. So the Vineyard Blend, I think goes really well with charcuterie and amaretti cookies. So one of my favorite Italian cookie is an amaretti cookie. It's made with
and your dialect just changed too.
Yeah.
Already.
The almond cookie. Yeah, that makes
Well, so Italian as a language is not so much a different language as it is an attitude and a glass of wine. That's really,
and not in that order.
Right, in order to speak Italian.
Yeah, so true. Yeah.
I was looking for the pairings.
Yeah.
We need to do some more of that on our website. It's one of the things we are hoping to do eventually. There's just, just being right out of the box, brand new. We're the 18th winery on the Sunny Slope Wine Trail, so we've been trying to just catch up. And it is one thing we'd like to put out there.
Well, not that you're asking, but I believe that a great strategy for you guys would be once a week that you two sit down in front of a camera and do a Facebook Live and a little 5 or 10 minute thing tasting through some of your wines with some foods. Facebook loves Facebook Lives. So organically, you'll get out there.
Yeah.
And you guys clearly are okay in front of the camera,
Yeah.
which is the biggest problem with most people are like, I don't want to be seen. You guys are front and center. You are the faces of your wine. Again, not that you're asking, but Shelley, is that
No, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, we're always looking for new avenues to, capture interested
gonna-
people.
yeah, you're going to drink the wine anyway.
Right.
You're going to eat anyway.
Right.
Now, don't do Friday because Fridays are already important with the Wine Time Fridays family.
Well, sure. We don't want to crowd out the agenda.
No. But you could do.
That's right.
Honestly, you guys can. We'll give you a little bit of
We'll call it Famici Wednesday or something. I don't know, but
something like
It
that. Where
should be Famici Friday, of course.
well, we won't go there.
Maybe when you come down, you'll be our first live and we'll do it
Figure
together.
that out.
6
Well, but I have to say, in terms of the wines, though, I love the fact that wine goes so well with food. But we try to build our wines so that they both go really well with food, but also they're wines that you can just sit and enjoy as we are now with a glass of
Yeah,
wine
that's true.
on their own.
These are nice and fruit.
It's one of the things I love about wine is that it can be enjoyed on its own, but it goes so well with food or just other social events. So yeah, it's very versatile.
But we talked early on about the ability to connect with people.
Yeah.
That's when you get it. I'm going to tell you, Shelley and I have had a number of guests on, and so many of them after what we hit the off button, they're like, you guys really have a good rapport. And I said, well, we've been together for 22 years.
Oh,
Right?
What a beautiful story.
Wow. About that good rapport, sometimes it's false. Coming up.
No,
My gosh.
Part of the definition of a good rapport is that you make it happen whether you're feeling it or you're not. And everybody has those things.
Sometimes when you're not. Coming up, as Shelley so not subtly said, International Rosé Day. November?
Oh,
June
yeah.
23rd. International Rosé Day.
Okay.
23rd. Yeah, we just got through with National Rosé. Rosé Day.
So can I ask where you're getting the source of this information? Because I'm still fascinated by the.
Well, that's a great segue, by the way. So I get our different wine days because honestly, for us to put the content out, we need wine days, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, so some of our wine episode calendars. Sorry, this will be taken out. It will be taken out.
Okay.
So I get our information from Wine Folly, the traveling.
Oh yeah, Madeline Puckett.
Oh, Madeline Puckett. Yeah, we're still trying to get her on, but she's ghosting us. But we're working with her.
Pressure her.
What's that?
You're going to get her.
Oh, I know that. That's a given, but it's just not when I wanted to. Anyway, Wine with Paige and Wine Tourism. Those are the 4 that I pulled for all of ours. But CJ, you inadvertently fell upon our newest thing on our website is we are putting the wine days out there.
Oh, perfect. And so we're gonna use and cite you as a source then.
Yes.
Should. It's actually already online. It's not complete because I have to go through and just double check, but because these like rosé days, they're different. And so, well, yeah. So the rosé days, there is like June 10th and June 12th. It's like, you know what? You could have every day be rosé day. It's kind of like
Rosé all day.
Rosé all day.
Every day.
I just want you to know, National Fudge Day is Friday, but we're not open on Friday, so we're going to celebrate on Saturday.
June 16th, which is today, is National Fudge Day.
June 16th is National Fudge Day.
So we don't do a lot of non-days that aren't wine, but we do wine and cheese. We do
We
sommelier.
do chocolate, so we like.
We do chocolate.
Yes.
And now we're going to do National Fudge Day. And so fudge would go
Is
fantastic
it
with
international or national Fudge Day?
which one is
Oh,
it?
I can't wait for you to try fudge pairing with wine if you haven't done it. It's
Well,
unbelievable.
Oh, it's the best. Like the
It's the
Primitivo and the Vineyard Blend would both be fantastic with fudge. Oh my
Absolutely.
God, fantastic. But fudge is good on its own too. But
Well, that's part of what makes it lovely. Yeah.
and that's international or national, Janet.
It's National Fudge Day. Yes,
Perfect.
yes.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
um,
Thank
the
you for
party-
pronouncing that though.
yes, absolutely.
International Cava Day is
Co-
July 12th.
July 12th. Yeah, we're coming into the July month, which is actually not obvious. It's not that many wine days. So
Let's take them up.
we can have National Wine Time Fridays Day,
Yeah.
and
There you
then
go.
right after
National
National Famici Day.
Perfect. I love it.
We're all for that. What am I missing? I've got my Famici notes. I want to thank again our sponsors today, Studio 107 and Robora. You know, they're right next door to each other on Sherman Avenue in Coeur d'Alene. Yeah.
Wow.
And let's see. Oh, next week, Art McIntosh of Lindsay Creek Vineyards.
Mm.
By the way, that's we're going to be with him in person. I guess he invited us sooner than you guys did. You know, we would have come down to see you maybe. I don't know.
Okay, next time. So
Next time.
when we do this again with next year's vintage, then we're gonna do it together in the same place.
Yeah.
Honestly,
That's a deal.
I love that idea. Idaho Wine Month is a great month to get the fact that Idaho is making fantastic wines. We had 5 days in June to be able to feature Idaho wines. And Janet, I want to thank you personally, from me to you, for connecting me with all these different wineries. And 60-70% of them responded.
Good.
And we are getting them on, and it's fantastic. And it doesn't mean the ones that didn't respond we'll never have on. It just it will happen, just not this year, maybe, right? And so next year, maybe this is setting the table for an annual thing of Wine Time Fridays and Famici Wine Company, because you guys are not boring, and you guys make some fantastic wines, and you gave us a lot of knowledge. And Shelley, like I like to say, with a little bit of knowledge, wine becomes a lot less overwhelming. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you to you guys for joining us and making delicious juice. This isn't it. That's Lambrusco. But making delicious juice. There we go. And we'll see you next week with Art McIntosh of Lindsay Creek Vineyards. Have a great weekend.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Thanks, Shelley. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
And that's the wrap.
Thank you for spending part of your day to wind down with Shelley and Phil. Remember, you can listen to any episode of the Wine Time Fridays podcast by visiting winetimefridays.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And join us on our Wine Time Fridays Facebook page, Instagram, or on Twitter, which is @VintageTweets, for daily conversation. Until next week, here's our toast to you: to health, wealth, abundance, gratitude, peace on earth, and of course, romance.